BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Farming Today podcast with me, Charlotte Smith. In this episode, Guernsey dairy farmers welcome a lifeline.
I think to lose Guernsey cows from Guernsey would be an absolute travesty. This extra funding will provide that stability to the industry to be able to, and the confidence to move forward into the future.
More from Guernsey later. Let's start with some good news on a bird which had looked doomed, the turtle dove. A ban in Europe on shooting them and work by farmers in England to provide both habitats and food has resulted in a 40% increase in populations. The Royal Society for the Protection of Birds hopes the work can continue on what it's calling Operation Turtle Dove. And as Dr. Guy Anderson, manager of their migratory bird programme, told me, farmers should now be on standby for the bird's arrival.
Our turtle doves at the moment are all still in West Africa, so they're on their wintering grounds. All our turtle doves are migratory. They breed here in the British Isles and across a lot of Europe. But it won't be long before they are starting to come back. So they should be back on our shores by the end of April. We'll be starting to see birds coming back to our farmland and countryside.
We've seen a really amazing increase in breeding numbers, 40% between 2021 and 24. What have farmers here in the UK done to help?
So turtle doves, they're seed eaters, and they eat quite a range of seeds from small, low-growing, annual or perennial plants. That things that in the wrong place have a habit of getting called weeds, and we know that over time and over decades we've lost a huge amount of those plants from our farmed countryside. And this has been a big problem for turtle doves. They can't find enough food in order to rear enough chicks. So what we're trying to do at the moment is trying to put that food back into our landscapes, into our countryside. And farmers are going to be critical to helping us do that.
And how does that work? Presumably that's going to be part of an environmental scheme where farmers are paid to either let areas be weedy or let areas grow what turtle doves want to eat.
Yes, absolutely. So that kind of agri-environment scheme has been really important in helping us do this and will continue to be so in the future.
What impact do you think the closure of one of the schemes you're talking about, the Sustainable Farming Incentive, will have on the work that you're doing?
We've been working hard with farmers all across the current range of turtle doves in the UK, and that's pretty much the southeast of England and areas of East Anglia and other areas of Eastern England, to understand how best we can use the existing agri-environment schemes, and that includes SFI, to deliver the sort of habitats, the sort of feeding resources and nesting sites that we know turtle doves need. So the recent pause, or at least halt in new applications being accepted for the SFI, has been a bit of a hiccup for us. Hopefully, though, in the long run, we can use the pause to try and work with government to produce an even better option, to maybe look at an even better agri-environment scheme that can do even more to deliver for birds like turtle doves and other wildlife.
DEFRA is talking about redesigning that scheme and perhaps targeting it at areas where the farmers need the money and the environment needs the investment, which might not turn out to be the southeast of England. Without some sort of government support, what happens to this project? Can it exist otherwise?
It can. And it will. There's a lot of voluntary work going on. There's a whole range of local grants, local funding opportunities. So no, it's not the only source of funding for this project, but it is quite a big one, and it is going to be important for us and important for this project, and therefore important for turtle doves, that we have a well-targeted, well-designed, and hopefully stable agri-environment scheme or equivalent going forward.
The RSPB's Dr. Guy Anderson. An ambitious plan is underway to digitise wartime farm records and make them available online. During the Second World War, 300,000 farms took part in a government survey to establish how useful agriculture was to the war effort. Well, the first batch of handwritten records will go online in 12 months' time, with the project completed in 2027. Until now, historians have had to travel to the National Archives in Kew and sift through the original maps and paperwork. Vernon Harwood's been finding out what we're likely to discover.
Everyone in the country is now part of the fighting services. Equally, if the food supply at home can be increased, that has exactly the same effect as if you increase your output in shipping and arms.
It's 1941 and Cabinet Minister Ernest Bevin makes an appeal to British farmers, just as plans are underway for an extensive census of farms in England and Wales.
Thank you all for coming along to join us for this rather special meeting. We've got Martin Baisley here.
84 years later, and the Soberton and Newtown Local History Society are about to discover what the survey reveals about their corner of Hampshire.
The first thing is it's a doomsday book of war ag, if you like, but why?
Martin's family farmed on the nearby Southwark estate.
It was a box-filling exercise. How many acres of wheat, how many acres of barley, oats, turnips, mangels, all the different crops, how many men working on the farm, the horsepower, the tractor, the stationary engine, all this information, a mass of information.
What surprised you about your great-grandfather's farm?
The box that was ticked for water supply was well, no piped water. The well was in the hall, in the farmhouse. It had a wooden cover over the top of it.
You went up to Kew to see the farm survey returns in person, but very soon, of course, people will be able to do it all from the comfort of their own homes.
Isn't that amazing? And it's a massive project. There's a lot of funding, £2.7 million, I think, from the Lund Trust, 300,000 records being digitised. And National Archives wouldn't be doing this had there not been a huge amount of interest from the general public.
Let the women help. Use the land army. Give them a chance.
So why did Whitehall need all this information?
You know, the British government had to act quickly. What was the resource? You know, what could they grow and where could they grow it? And they simply didn't know.
Dr. Alex Langlands is Associate Professor in History and Heritage at Swansea University.
If Hitler did manage to encircle the British Isles with a ring of U-boats, he could very, very realistically have pressed Britain into starvation and therefore submission. An unimaginable scale of state involvement was initiated with the National Farm Survey of 1941.
It's been referred to as the Second Doomsday Book. I don't think that's an over-exaggeration, is it?
Yeah, I think in many ways it's more comprehensive than the first Doomsday Book. And I think therein lies the importance of the record today. You know, when we think about the significance of the digitisation programme and the potential information this has, I personally, as a historian, I'm really excited about what it's going to tell us about the countryside during the Second World War, before and after. I'm really excited at the social history that we can learn about rural communities at the time. And I think the emerging narrative is going to be about the way in which that landscape changed.
Dr. Alex Langlands ending that fascinating report from Vernon Harwood. Now, all this week, we're going to look at farming on the islands around the British coast. The challenges, like finding housing or animals not being allowed on some ferries serving crofters, and the advantages, like the lack of frost for flower growers on the Isles of Scilly. Well, today we're heading to Guernsey, where dairy farmers have welcomed a decision to increase the support they receive from government. Rising costs in recent years have driven profits down, and as Chris Ledyard reports, the island's dairy industry is going through a challenging time.
Hello. They're beautiful, aren't they?
I mean, we've got such a range in here at the moment. We've got brown ones, we've got white ones, we've got browny white ones, we've got light ones and dark ones, red ones. It's a multitude of different colours, which actually gives them that unique characteristic because you know immediately who it is.
Tucked away among narrow lanes in the parish of St Saviour, a herd of 100 or so Guernsey cows belonging to Michael Bray.
My bug for the land came from my dad, really, and I used to...
Michael grew up in Guernsey. His parents were in horticulture, first tomatoes, then flowers. From a young age, he wanted to farm.
We then went camping in Herm, a small island off Guernsey, where there was a small dairy herd there, and I got help in there over the summers and got the bug for Guernsey cows, really.
After working in England and New Zealand, Michael came back to Guernsey, where he's now president of the Guernsey Farmers Association. So when you came back 12, 13 years ago, how many dairy farmers were there here then?
There was 18 dairy farmers then. We're down to 11 now. And inevitably, we're probably going to lose another couple of farms. So I think, you know, as farmers decide to retire, whether there's somebody wanting to take it on is the big question.
Michael's costs are high. For example, he says shipping feed to the island costs him an extra £100 a tonne. And the industry's been struggling. A report for the island's government says that in recent years, Guernsey dairy farmers have had access to far less financial support than farmers in Jersey, the Isle of Man or the UK.
I'm Deputy Lindsay de Summers and I'm the President of the Committee for the Environment and Infrastructure, which has in its mandate, among other things, agriculture.
And Lindsay, your committee's decided that basically dairy farming in Guernsey needs more public money.
Yeah, I mean, really, the fundamental principle is public money for public goods.
And soon after we met at Les Jaunets Farm, the States of Guernsey voted to more than double that public money, from £1 million a year to £2.35 million, to try to reinvigorate the island's dairy industry.
Guernsey is such a beautiful island, and so much of its charm and character is really shaped by our rural landscape. And really we've got our farmers to thank for that, because they are the custodians of our countryside.
I think to lose Guernsey cows from Guernsey would be an absolute travesty. This extra funding will provide that stability to the industry to be able to, and the confidence to be able to move forward and into the next generation and into the future.
And let's talk about that Guernsey countryside that you're part of. Very small fields, measured in verges, the local measurement, which is roughly just under half an acre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of multiple ownership as well, is that right? That you find yourself not as a tenant, not with one landlord or two landlords, but you can have multiple landlords. Hundreds, really? Hundreds?
Yeah. It was from the Norman times when they were all split up and divided, which, we want to protect that because those hedgerows and stone walls have been there for multiple generations kind of thing. So.
And just to add to what Michael said, those earth banks, hedgerows are absolutely packed with biodiversity, and so they are so valuable from a natural environment perspective. And that's one of the things why it's important that we can support farmers to support our natural wildlife.
Lindsay de Summers ending that report from Guernsey. That's it from us. I'm Charlotte Smith. The producer is Beatrice Fenton, and Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.